Imagine living in a future where every step you take and every move you make is recorded. Not by Big Brother, not by surveillance cameras, but by the person right next to you. The mere presence of your family and friends holds you accountable to state-approved behavior, where making the slightest deviation will incur the most severe punishment. Welcome to the era of privacy-free living. In today's episode, we are going to explore public surveillance, how AI is changing the game, the ethical dilemmas of your personal experiences being captured, and what you can do to protect yourself, if that's even possible. If you haven't figured it out yet, this is the one about the rise of the public surveillance spy networks. Let's take a brief look at public surveillance over the course of human history. You might not believe it, but the concept of public surveillance isn't new. The only thing that has changed about it is the methodology and technology to carry it out. If you were to travel back in time, you would come across many stories of governments spying on their citizens. Because there were no cameras back then, these governments used individuals to sell out their neighbors and friends. This was sometimes due to differing beliefs and ideologies. During the Soviet era, for instance, the government used a variety of methods to keep tabs on its citizens. The KGB, which is an abbreviation for the State Security Committee in Russian, had informants all around. You wouldn't be wrong for thinking these informants were trained operatives living among the people. But the truth couldn't be further from that. The informants were actually ordinary citizens. When you think about it, it was going to be hard to have trained operatives in every part of Russia. Citizens on the hand were in more than an abundant supply. The government used these individuals to make sure everyone followed their rules and didn't oppose them. The Soviets were not the only ones to have a system like this in place. No, this group had actually done it earlier. They too had several methods they used. One of the methods unique to them was the Gestapo, their secret police. These were trained operatives who would spy on people through a number of techniques, including telephone tapping and the setup of hidden microphones without the knowledge of whomever they were spying on. Like the Soviets who came after them, the Gestapo also had loyalists who sold out individuals criticizing the regime or breaching the rule of law. They maintained extensive files on the associations, conversations, and even the activities of a broad swath of the population through these practices. This allowed the government to have a strong grip on its citizens, but it also took some freedom. Time won't permit to talk about spy networks in ancient Greece, India, China, and even the Roman Empire. Public surveillance has always been a part of human history, and if you have read Sun Tzu's Art of War, then you would understand why this was a big deal even back then. In modern times, things are a bit advanced. Let's take modern-day China, for instance. The government has a vast network of CCTV cameras in public spaces equipped with facial recognition technology capable of identifying people. They also have structures in place to monitor the internet, including social media. Through these technologies and mechanisms the government have in place, they are able to track what their citizens say and do online. There's also phone tracking, which gives the government the power to monitor people's phone calls and messages. Yes, it sounds a bit much, but through these measures, they're able to keep a very close watch on the population. It's tempting to mention North Korea too, but then again, we have a fair idea of what's happening over there. Does that mean the West is immune to such treatment? Well, if you didn't know, that's not necessarily the case. London, for instance, is estimated to have 127,423 cameras for 607 square miles. That's 209 cameras per square mile. If you think that's crazy, New York has 70,882 cameras for 300 square miles. That's 235 cameras per square mile. Clearly, these cities are some of the most surveilled cities in the world. But governments do this to help solve crimes or monitor traffic. The police also have body cams which record their interactions with the public to make sure they are safe. These body cams also come in handy in case of crimes, as they help ascertain what exactly happened. These measures have been put in place for public safety, but that doesn't mean that they are not abused. This brings up issues of privacy and public safety. How much access should the government really have when it comes to the privacy of its citizens? This has always been debated when we consider some of the scandals that have come up, including that which involves the case of Edward Snowden, we can tell that government has more access than they need. For those unfamiliar with the Snowden case, he was a former intelligence operative who spilled the beans on some of the US government's intrusive techniques, including being able to spy on you through your laptop camera and even your phone. Perhaps we may create a separate video in the future delving into that as well, but until then, let's focus on today's subject. Now, all these things that have been mentioned so far are activities we are perfectly capable of doing with little to sometimes no input from AI. Currently, it's no secret that we are in an AI bubble. And while that's exciting, we have to agree that in terms of security and mass surveillance, AI has the capability to take things to unprecedented levels once it's introduced to it. For starters, most of the complexities associated with mass surveillance made it something that only governments and large corporations could handle. But with the advancements in technology and AI, all of that's changing. It's no exaggeration when stated that the means of public surveillance are now in everyone's pockets. If you don't believe it, you just need to pay attention to news reports and social media. In the past, the television stations had to get there before anything could be reported. In recent times, however, people simply pull out their phones during incidents, and that's how things are first reported before any of these news organizations even get there. Simply put, we have evolved into a society where there are many digital eyes in the pockets of civilians, which are capable of seeing more angles than any street camera could ever capture. While these developments are interesting as they sometimes reveal the truth, one can argue that in most cases, it breaches privacy. So you might be wondering, what exactly does surveillance have to do with AI? Have you seen any of the Star Trek movies or TV series? If you have, then you should understand better. If you haven't, allow me to throw some light there. In the movie, you'd typically find the characters using communicator badges that were attached to their uniforms. As their names imply, they were used as a means of communication between the characters. Think of them as mini walkie-talkies that are much cooler than the ones we have today. To use these mini-talkies, the user only had to tap the badge and voila! Unlike walkie-talkies, however, these communicators were capable of providing accurate GPS location and also live data of the user's physical health, a precautionary measure just in case something happens to them. Something similar to the way your wearable smartwatch sends alerts if your heart misses a beat. When this same badge was connected to a computer, it could provide live data of others and perform complex calculations that could potentially solve life or death situations. They were like a super advanced brains pinned to their spacesuit. Sounds cool, right? But it also sounds like something that belongs to our distant future. What if you knew that we are much closer to that future today? Have you heard about this new technology that was making headlines some months ago? By new technology, what we mean is the AI pin by Humane. Now, if you haven't seen it, allow for a short info session on the product. This AI pin is designed to be your second brain that will answer your questions and help you understand the world around you. With just one simple touch, you no longer have to have your head crunched down or even end up looking rude because you are pressing your phone whilst out on a date. You also don't have to end up missing out on special moments because you are scrambling to pull out your camera. No, the AI pin by Humane solves all that. With an AI directly incorporated into the device's native operating system, it's capable of listening to what you say, seeing what's around you, and even understanding your thought processes based on the kind of requests you make. It also answers all your questions and reminds you of things you have planned. Now, this next one sounds like a stretch, but imagine it starts predicting your next desire without you even having to ask. Something like your own personal and tiny robot friend that knows you like your mama. Despite its name, the device won't be stuck on you like a pin. Instead, it is more like a smartphone with much fewer distractions than you would get from a regular device. Its main selling point will, however, be its dedicated AI elements. The AI pin isn't the only AI-powered handheld device out there, though. The Rabbit R1 is another. This one functions as a smart camera that excels at recognizing the faces and objects it captures. Aside from visual data, it also captures audio and is capable of understanding what it's hearing. Beyond this, it also functions as a personal assistant that helps you organize your life and adjust on the go, like a mature Pokédex for actual productivity. What's more, It comes in a small, compact size that makes it easy to take everywhere. While both devices might be slightly different, they have one thing in common: their use of AI to help you. But what if that's not their actual purpose? What if there's something more sinister at play? Not necessarily something sinister put in motion by the creators, but by individuals whose names cannot be mentioned. We shall just call them they. If you are wondering what this might be, keep following along. Have you ever discussed buying cheesecake with a friend only for your social media to be flooded with ads from different cheesecake manufacturers? When that happened, what did you think? Did you assume it was a coincidence, or did you think someone was spying on you? If you use a smartphone, you know your phone responds when you say, "Hello Google," or "Hey Siri." For your phone to respond, it has to actively be listening for the command. How do we know the device isn't recording other things we are discussing? Now imagine a more powerful device powered by AI in a similar situation. Despite what our device manufacturers might tell us, we can never 100% trust that our devices are 100% inactive when we are not using them. Can we trust these manufacturers with our first-person experiences? Are they guardians of our privacy or exploiters in disguise? Quite possibly both. The Cambridge Analytica data scandal is one of many proofs that we can't fully trust that the data from our devices are protected. It can't be helped, but there is a feeling that the future will hold more of such scandals, and even more advanced ones with AI in the mix. AI will allow organizations to analyze and interpret more data quickly and also more efficiently. The data can also be collected and analyzed live. How will this affect you, you ask? Let's look at a practical example. You walk into an office and seemingly make a request. The request you make isn't what you really want. The employee gets up to attend to something for you, and while they are gone, you talk to a friend you came with about your conflicted feelings. Whilst you talk, someone else is using their vertically upright device that has you in its point of view, and it is directed to collect data in the environment. Organizations are monitoring everything happening in that location, using every device, including the person's compromised device. Just then, the person in the office receives information on their smartwatch from an AI about you and what your genuine needs are. Depending on where this is, it may work to your benefit or not. The AI was able to know what you want using the live footage from the compromised PIN, your facial expressions, and a lip-reading algorithm if you are far from it, or the ability to understand conversations if you are close. No matter how you look at it, this is worrying. Devices like the Humane AI PIN, however, introduced an accountability indicator of sorts that will let you know when another person's device is recording you. You will know this by a light that will turn on. As hopeful as that may sound, it's not comprehensive. Today we can depend on phone cameras being placed face down. But these new devices need to be upright to work. It will only take the light to not turn on for your privacy, to be breached without your knowledge. Besides, there are so many ways you could be watched, including your laptop, the cameras in the grocery shop, the devices of people around you that don't even know they're recording you, and so on. There are even spy charger bricks and water bottles. Any of these could be integrated with AI to gather, process, and analyze data without you knowing. Sure, you could call in and tell your boss you are sick, but all they have to do is tap into their vast network of AI-powered spy cams or resources, which may be ordinary individuals who don't even know about the whole thing to prove you are not and eventually get you into trouble. In the end, our trust is what they will exploit. Can you see companies paying for this backdoor exploit? They could use this to understand their consumers and their enemies better. Now imagine an increasingly oppressive authoritarian regime. Instead of encouraging people to come forward with information, they could just get all the information they need on you using the very devices of people around you. A complete profile on you will allow them to manipulate and use you as they see fit, sometimes without you knowing. It will be like finding vibranium but of people's consciousness. So far, this may seem very hypothetical, yet it's a potential future. We have started to see the signs already. But if this should happen, what impact would it have on everyday life? The answer is simple. As we have had an Internet of Things, we would be moving towards an Internet of People. Your data will be uploaded live and analyzed by AI while you believe, without a shadow of a doubt, it's secure. Everyone could be, in effect, a means of analyzing the person next to them. You and your family will basically be mules for collecting information, whether you realize it or not. Once hints of this start becoming public, people will become less trusting, dissolving the already fragile relationships and unity within our society today. Imagine a human-powered transportation system for AI to know and learn the world, only to serve a few. Just like CCTVs have become an accepted and expected norm, perhaps these humane AI pins could become the new body cam norms for civilians. Governments could market it as being for our safety so much that not wearing or using one will lead to lots of questions. Why aren't wearing your pin? What do you have to hide? Why don't you comply? Eventually, you could be forced to and compelled at an emotional level, even if not legally forced to fall in line. No one wants to be ostracized. It won't be difficult to run campaigns with catchy phrases and slogans to be the new wave of public security. If you see it, pin it. This will naturally push people to want to be part of the trend. People will jump in blindly without considering what the potential effects may be. Using technology like the humane AI pin potentially puts everyone at risk of being recorded, monitored, and exploited without their knowledge. Are there positive sides to the whole thing? Yes, there are. Imagine a scenario where your personal device captures crucial evidence missed by official cameras. The footage from your device could potentially save someone from doing the time for a crime he didn't commit. The same way Teslas have their Sentry mode and help victims get much-deserved justice. There's also the flip side where you could be in danger, and the data could also be siphoned, especially if it has to do with something or someone who didn't want the situation being filmed, in a situation where your device is almost recording all the time. Local storage will be an issue, since cloud storage might be the preferred means. In such an instance, the data could be manipulated with deep fake, which will lead to your data being used to punish an innocent and free the deserving. If this becomes a future we live out, you can expect some sort of premium service to counteract it. Something that could give you access to secure data that's the original in a private dedicated space for just you that even the company has no access to. You might be forced to go professional. You may need to go pro. GoPro has been a long-standing company providing excellent video quality and a unique system to ensure moments are never missed. Their latest product allows you to film and never worry about 1. Manipulated data. This means you control your narrative and not cloud servers dictating your version of history. 2. You can keep the originals off the internet. 3. You also don't have to worry about subscriptions to access your own content. If you still want to have the freedom of navigating through life, capturing moments, and continuing to be that person who shares the truth of what happens in the moments you experience them, then perhaps this is for you. Check out their products on Amazon through this link in the description, because when it comes to accountability, quality, and truth, you have to go pro. If you find this whole thing intriguing, you might want to watch Black Mirror. It's a show that explores societies driven by social accountability through surveillance. This isn't to say that's the future we are headed for, but it does show us both the seemingly utopian and dystopian sides of this technology. At its core, this issue of public surveillance disrupts our fundamental need for privacy, yet taps into the contrasting desire for security. Two social trends may occur due to this. The first is people may put up their best behavior when in public, but lose their sense of individualism similar to that of North Korea. The second is that we may see a rise in more underground social events, where people meet up and do not record anything just so they can be themselves. There will also be some who will invest in products to help protect their privacy. AI detection scramblers. NFC-based blockage packages that meant to shield your devices from others. And as seen recently from Italian company capable having clothing embedded with signal scrambler designs woven into the style of the product. Sounds a bit much to have to deal with, but in a future where everyone is potentially a spy for various companies and governments, it is practical to think about maintaining your privacy. But think about it. Do you think such a future will be safer than what we currently have? Would you want such a future despite all the potential problems it could cause? Share your thoughts in the comments section. We already are in the early phases of such a society. Given how today's youth love to keep up with trends and don't mind calling out and canceling others, there is such a future. The increased need for social justice may make future generations ready to submit their visual data, not knowing or caring about the ulterior motives these power-wielding organizations collecting the data might have. At the end of the day, technology is a tool, and its impact depends on the user and how it's used. Be safe and responsible out there. Until we meet again, stay vigilant and thoughtful in our ever-watching world. And one more thing, before you like, subscribe, and start sharing the content of this video with friends and family, do remember that they could be manipulated, tested, and indoctrinated to spy against you. And no, this isn't a joke. As the next video, you will learn about the ways companies get you to make choices they want, because the next one is about